guys, welcome back to my channel Style by C. Okay, on today's tutorial, I'll be talking on how to make this beautiful piece I'm presenting. It's a bubble gown and inspired by Vicky James on Instagram. So that's why I'm talking on how to make it today. So kindly subscribe to my channel, share to friends, and don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Then turn on your notification bell. Thank you so much. This is the material I'll be working with. This is 2 years of African prints and half a year of my combination material. This is crepe material. So let's get started. So this is my fabric on a fold of 2 first. I'll go ahead and fold it again on a fold of 4. So it's going to be on a fold of 4 now. Alright. This is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and mark is the full length of my gown. So I'm going to be working with 39 inches plus 2 inches seam allowance, making it 41 inches. I decided to make it shorter, maybe work with 35, 36, depending on your length, your desired length. So this is my full length. Then I'll go ahead and mark 11 inches, which is going to be serving into my chest line. Then from the top, this mark I made here is going to be serving as my start line, right? So that's why from here I marked 11 inches for my chest line. Then I'm going to be marking 17 inches, 16, 17 inches for my waistline, for my half length. Then I'm going to be marking 24 inches for my hip line. So after marking this, I'm going to go over to my start point line. Alright. I'm going to be inserting my shoulder measurements. So this is my shoulder measurements, 8 inches. Alright. Then I'm still going to place my tape at the center point, and I'm going to be marking 3 inches. You can decide to work with 2.5 inches, but I'm working with 3 inches. Alright. Then here now I'm going to be using what I have here as my sleeve length. So you can decide to work with 8, 11, 12, depends on how long you want your sleeve to be. For mine, I'm working with 8 inches. And I'm going to be attaching an extra band to it. So total of my sleeve is going to be 10 inches. So I'm marking my 8 inches here. So this is what I have. So now I'm going to be sloping my sleeve because this is going to be a cut together sleeve. So from this point now where my sleeve stops, I'm going to be marking 1 inch down, which is here. Then I'm going to be connecting it to my neck width. So I connected it to my neck width, alright? Then to cut out my front neck, what I'm going to do is from this point, I'm going to be leaving it at 11 inches. That's how deep I want my neck to be, alright? Though you can still come up by 10 inches, it's totally on you. So now, for my chest line point, I'm going to be marking 1 inch. Then from my neck width, I'm going to connect it to my So I've connected my neck width to my chest line, alright? So this is what we have here. Then I'll go ahead and insert my bust measurements, my round measurements now. So now my bust measurements, we insert it. Then my waist measurement. Now looking at the waist of that dress, it's snatched, like it's tight on the waist, it has shape. So I'll mark it, then attach 3 inches seam allowance. You can decide to work with 4 inches. Then I'm going to be covering this inward to this point. So insert 3 to 4 inches seam allowance. Sorry, this is a mistake. This is where I'm going to connect this from. So ignore this line that is here. Alright, so the same thing to the hip. I also insert my hip measurement, add 3 inches seam allowance to it. Then I'm going to be connecting my dots together. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece out. Alright, then I also cut this part out. So after cutting it out, I have my back piece and my front piece together. Remember, it's on the fold of 4. So I'll go ahead and separate them. But before then, I'm going to be marking my neck depth for my front piece, for my back piece, sorry. So you can decide to work with 1.5 while working with 2 inches deep. Then I'm going to be connecting them. Then I'll go ahead and cut it out. Then separate my materials. So this is what I have for my front piece now. I'll go ahead and cut out the neckline. After cutting it, you open it up. So when I open it up, this is what I have. So this is where we're going to be attaching our plackets, alright? The black piece or the black fabrics of ours. So this is where we'll be attaching it. Now the next thing we're going to be marking is where our wet pocket is going to be, alright? But first thing first, we're going to be finding the midpoint of our gown or of our dress. So this is the midpoint of my dress. Then from the start point, I'm going to be marking where I want my waist pocket to be. So I place my tape back to my shoulder line. Then I mark 17 inches. I want it to be on 17 inches, which is the waistline. Okay. So now the next thing I'm going to be marking is from the center point. I'm going to be marking 3 inches. This 3 inches is how wide apart you want the 2 pockets to be. So this is what I have, 3 inches. I'll go ahead and make a straight through or line on it. Alright. So this is what we have. Then from these 3 inches now, I'm going to be making an arc. Like I'm going to place my tape in an arc form. And I'm going to be marking 4.5 inches. So this is where my 4.5 inches falls. So I'm going to connect it from these 3 inches to my 4.5. This is what I have. I'll go ahead and do the same thing to this other piece too. So I'm done doing this, and I'm just tracing the chalk well so I'll be able to see it. So this is what I have. Then I'll go ahead and cut out my pocket piece. Alright. Remember, this is going to be a waist pocket. So now the next thing I did was, please disregard these lines I marked. I made a mistake and used the front piece for my markings. Alright. So the next thing I did was, this is my cutouts for my waist pocket. Alright. So the width and the length of this is 6 inches. Alright. But the width and the length is 6 inches. So what I did was, I'm going to place it. This is the line we have marked. Alright, for my waist pocket. So place it on top of it. So I went ahead and placed this here. Alright, so now I'm going to be retracing those lines I marked on my waist pocket. I'm going to be retracing it on this now. Sorry, let me get the chalk. ahead and retrace my line here. This is the center of my line. So beside the center, I'm going to be marking 0.25 inches. And also go ahead from this center, this other part of the center, I'm going by 0.25 inches again. So this is what I have. I also go ahead and do the same thing to this other side of my pocket. Okay. This is the center. Mark 0.25 on both sides of your. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do now is I'll go over to the sewing machine and run a stitch here. Now I'm going to be sewing, this is the center line, right? We're not going to be sewing on it. So we're going to be sewing on the two sides of the line, this line and this line. Then we're just going to run a parallel line. We're not closing it up, alright? You're not touching this arc you have here, these points you have here. It's just these straight two lines you're working on and leaving the center open. So I'll go ahead and hold it down with a pin. So now I'm done making my stitch. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be opening this up. Alright, so I'll go ahead and find the center point of. Okay, we already have a center point. Not even going ahead to find a center point. So remember the middle line we cut. So I'll go ahead and put a slit on it. So now I'll go ahead and cut it. I'm getting towards this end part of this. I'm going to be making a triangle shape at the end. So I'll also do the same thing for this side. Please don't exceed your line, the 6 inches line you have. So I'm just making a slit or a notch. I'll also go ahead and do the same thing for this part. So when I'm done doing this, I'm going to be removing my pins. Remember, this is our front. Now I'm going to be pushing this inside, inwards here. So you push it inside the back piece of your dress. Then you iron it down. Give it a good ironing. Alright, so that's what I'll go ahead and do now. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be talking about closing of our wet pockets. If you look closely at this one now, you see that we are now seeing the material combination we're using. We are now seeing the black piece that we're using. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to this other part. Now, I'm going to flip this over to the wrong side of my gown. Alright, so this is what we have. This is the opening after pressing it. Now, this is the back piece. I'm going to go ahead and push it up to close this opening I have here. So the back side, the downside. Then I'm going to go ahead and pin it down. All right. That is to give me that shape I had for the other side. So after pinning it down, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and run a stitch on it, top stitch on it to put it together. I also go ahead and top stitch on this, top stitch on this, and top stitch on this. You can decide to place it this way. Remove your pin. If you don't want your thread to show in front, just hold it this way and stitch on it just to hold it together. So that another reason of holding it down this way is to avoid it flipping out, like coming off entirely. So that's another reason for stitching it down together. So go ahead and run a stitch on. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring, this is my inner pocket, alright? Now I'm going to go ahead and join this to my, first of all, join it to the down part of my fabric, this down part, alright? I'm going to join it to it, after which I will now join it to the upper one, okay? When I join it to the upper one, then I'll go ahead and close the two sides. So first of all, join to the down one, the upper side, then close the two sides. So this is what I have. The next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be joining my two shoulders together. Alright, so now go ahead and join your shoulders together. I'm going to go ahead and join my shoulders together. So now the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be attaching my, because this is going to also have our material, alright, our combination material on the sleeve. So I'll go ahead and cut out a material that is going to be 2 inches bold on a fold. Alright, so go ahead and cut your material that is going to be 2 inches broad on a fold. So this is what I have. I'll go ahead and attach it to my sleeve. I'll also do the same thing for the other side of the sleeve, alright? So now the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be attaching my plackets to the neck area. The width of the plackets is 2.5 inches on a fold, alright? Now I went ahead and made a notch on this neck area, this front neck. Then I'll go ahead and attach this to my neck area, alright? So the placket is going to be as long as possible so it will be able to go around the neck, then form your base here. So after attaching it, this is what I have. I went ahead to pin it down here. Now the next thing I'm going to be marking is where I want this my placket to stop, alright? Where do you want it to stop? So I want it to be on this waistline, which is here at 17 inches. So now I'll go ahead and fold this in. So I'll be holding this in. Then I'm going to be top stitching on it. Then here now where I want it to stop, I'm going to cut it out maybe 1 inch after where I want it to stop. Then I'll be using this to make my angle. Depends on the shape you want to give it. You want it to be quarter, if you want it to be in a triangle form, you go ahead and do it. So now this is what I have. So I'll go ahead and run a stitch from here, connecting it to this point and stitching it here. After joining it, this is what I have. Okay, so now the next thing to go ahead is to go ahead and shape your dress.